Captain Zorix of the Galactic Council's monitoring division had exactly 3 things in common with a houseplant. He was green, he rarely moved, and he had the intellectual curiosity of a decorative fern. For the past 50 Earth years, he'd been stationed at observation post Zeta 7, dutifully watching the quarantine planet spin through space like a cosmic tragedy nobody wanted to clean up. "Another day, another dead civilization," Zorix muttered, adjusting his 17 pairs of reading glasses. The Earth floated on his view screen, looking appropriately post-apocalyptic with its patchy atmosphere and occasional radiation storms. Perfect. Just the way the Council liked their quarantine disasters. His aide, a nervous creature named Beep, who looked like someone had crossed a ferret with a calculator, shuffled over with the daily reports. "Sir, the automated sensors are registering some unusual readings from the surface." "Define unusual," Zorix said, not looking up from his paperwork. He was filling out Form 77B, daily confirmation that yes, this planet is still dead. "Well, sir, there appear to be energy signatures. Massive ones. And they're not radiation-based." Zorix's third eye twitched. His third eye only twitched when something was about to ruin his day. "Beep, we've been through this. The humans destroyed themselves in the Great War of 2089. The Council quarantined Earth as an act of mercy, preventing anyone from witnessing their final, tragic moments. The planet is a tomb, a very large, very dead tomb." "But sir," Beep's voice climbed an octave, "the energy readings suggest large gatherings. Thousands of life forms. And sir, they're playing music." The stylus snapped in Zorix's primary hand. "Music? Mo. Very loud music, sir. And there appear to be fireworks?" Zorix's remaining 6 eyes focused on the view screen. Sure enough, tiny sparkles were erupting across what used to be the North American continent. "Beep, enhanced Sector 7. The image zoomed in, revealing something that made Zorix's blood pressure spike to levels that would hospitalize a lesser species. Where the ruins of New York City should have been, there was a massive festival. Thousands of bipedal creatures were dancing, celebrating, and apparently having the time of their lives in what looked like a cross between a concert venue and a theme park. A banner stretched across the former Hudson River read, "Welcome to Apocalypse Fest 2139, 50 Years of Survival Party." "Beep," Zorix whispered, his voice the sound of a filing cabinet having an existential crisis. "Call the Council. Emergency session. Code Black." "What's Code Black, sir?" "The code for when reality stops making sense and I need a very large drink." Commander Vex of the Council's Military Intelligence Division had seen many things in her career. She'd witnessed the collapse of 3 stellar governments, the birth of a new star, and once, memorably, a negotiation between 2 species that communicated entirely through interpretive dance. Nothing, however, had prepared her for humanity. Landing coordinates confirmed, her pilot announced as their stealth scout ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, touching down in what the old records call Manhattan. The shuttle set down in a designated landing area marked with a cheerful sign, "Alien Parking, please register at Visitor Center." Vex stared at the sign through her helmet's visor, wondering if the radiation had affected her translation circuits. "Commander," her lieutenant said, "we're receiving a transmission. It's welcoming us to Earth and asking if we'd like a complimentary tour package." Before Vex could respond, a human bounded up to their ship. He was tall, tanned, and wearing what appeared to be a uniform made from repurposed military gear and tourist merchandise. His smile was so bright it could have powered a small space station. "Welcome to Earth," the human called out, waving enthusiastically. "I'm Jake Thompson, Senior Tour Guide for Apocalypse Adventure Tours. Are you folks here for the basic survival experience, or did you want to upgrade to our premium nuclear winter package?" Vex's tactical training kicked in. This was clearly some form of psychological warfare. "Stand back, human. We are here on official council business." "Awesome." Jake's grin somehow became even brighter. Official business gets you a 15% discount on any tour package over 3 days. Can I interest you in our government overthrow and reconstruction theme park? It's built right on the ruins of the old Capitol building. We've got authentic radiation readings and everything. Radiation readings? Vex's weapons systems began charging automatically. Oh, don't worry, they're completely safe now. We've got them calibrated to give you just enough of that authentic post-apocalyptic tingle without any of the inconvenient side effects. Deaths are way down since we installed the safety measures. We're talking like a 97% reduction in mortality rates. Vex's translator was having trouble with the concept of voluntary radiation exposure. You deliberately expose yourself to radiation for entertainment? Only on weekends, Jake said, as if this were the most reasonable thing in the universe. Weekdays we focus more on the urban exploration stuff, tunnel systems, abandoned subway networks, that kind of thing. Though I've got to say, our Survive the Wasteland obstacle course is really popular with the extreme sports crowd. The wasteland, Vex repeated slowly. You've turned your planetary disaster into a recreational activity. Well, yeah, I mean, what else were we going to do with it? Sit around and mope? That's not really our style. Jake gestured expansively at the bustling activity around them. See, after the war we had 2 choices, give up and die, or figure out how to have fun with what was left. Turns out, post-apocalyptic survival is way more entertaining than we expected. Vex watched in fascination as humans engaged in what they called rubble parkour, leaping between destroyed buildings with the kind of joy typically reserved for children at play. This defies every psychological profile we have on species survival. Oh, that reminds me, Jake said, pulling out a tablet. We've been meaning to send a thank you note to the Galactic Council. Best challenge we ever had, really. Nothing like a good old-fashioned apocalypse to bring out humanity's creative side. He showed her the tablet, which displayed a cheerful message, "Thanks for the quarantine." It really gave us the space we needed to figure things out. 5 stars would survive again. Vex's worldview cracked like a dropped egg. The Grand Assembly Hall had seen many crises in its 10,000-year history, but nothing quite like the emergency session called by Captain Zorix. Representatives from 47 different species clustered in their designated atmospheric zones, their translation devices working overtime to process the sheer volume of confused chatter. Dr. Florbington, the Council's chief xenopsychologist, stood at the central podium waving a data tablet like a weapon. "This is impossible," he declared, his bulbous purple head quivering with indignation. "According to every model we have, the human species should have been extinct within 6 months of their global conflict. Their psychological profile indicates they're prone to despair, self-destruction, and hopelessness when faced with insurmountable odds. And yet, Councillor Grex observed from his ancient hover chair, they appear to be throwing a party that's visible from space." The ancient councillor had been around since the council's founding, and his species lived for roughly 3,000 years. He'd seen civilizations rise and fall like seasonal flowers, but something about the human situation intrigued him. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "our psychological models were incomplete." Incomplete. Dr. Florbington's voice climbed several octaves. "I've spent my entire career studying species behavior. Humans are textbook examples of emotional instability. They cry at fictional stories, they form attachments to small furry creatures. And they have been known to risk their lives for abstract concepts like honor and justice. They should not be capable of this level of adaptation." Ambassador Trill, representing the diplomatic corps, raised a tentacled appendage. "If I may, perhaps we should consider that our quarantine has been successful beyond our intentions. The humans appear to have not only survived but thrived. Surely this is a positive outcome?" "Positive?" Captain Zorix's voice cracked like a pubescent teenager's. "They're sending us thank you cards for quarantining them. What kind of species thanks their captors?" The kind that turns imprisonment into entertainment, Counselor Grex mused. Fascinating. The debate continued for hours, with various species proposing solutions ranging from complete re-quarantine to immediate integration into Council society. Finally, Counselor Grex called for order. Fellow councillors, he began, we face an unprecedented situation. Our standard protocols have failed not because they were too harsh, but because they were interpreted as a gift. I propose we send Ambassador Quirk to make formal first contact and assess the situation directly. Ambassador Quirk, a methodical being who looked like a cross between a diplomat and a filing cabinet, nodded solemnly. I accept the assignment. I shall approach with full diplomatic protocol and establish formal communication channels. Just remember, Dr. Florbington called out, whatever you do, don't let them know we expected them to be dead. That might be awkward. Counselor Grex's ancient eyes twinkled with something that might have been amusement. Indeed, we wouldn't want to hurt their feelings. Ambassador Quirk had prepared for this moment his entire career. His diplomatic pouches contained formal greeting protocols for 17 different species, his translator was loaded with over 400 languages, and his ceremonial robes had been pressed to perfection. What he had not prepared for was the smell of barbecue sauce drifting through his ship's air filters. Ambassador, his aide reported, we're receiving multiple communications from the surface. They're inviting us to lunch. Quirk straightened his ceremonial sash. Don't maintain professional composure. This is first contact with a species that survived their own apocalypse. We must proceed with utmost diplomatic dignity. His ship landed in what appeared to be a designated area marked with balloons and a banner reading, Welcome Space Friends. Burgers at noon. The airlock opened to reveal a human female wearing what looked like a combination of military surplus and restaurant merchandise. She had the kind of smile that suggested she'd never met a problem she couldn't solve with enthusiasm and barbecue sauce. Ambassador Quirk, right? She said, somehow pronouncing his name correctly despite it containing 17 silent consonants. I'm Luna Martinez, Earth's Director of Interspecies Relations. Welcome to our little blue marble. Quirk consulted his diplomatic handbook. Beings of Earth. I come as a representative of the Galactic Council to establish formal diplomatic relations and assess your current status. Oh, fantastic. Luna clapped her hands. We've been hoping you'd drop by. We've got a whole welcome package prepared. Food, entertainment, a tour of our best survival installations, and Jake wanted to show you the radiation theme park, but I told him that might be a bit much for a first visit. Radiation theme park, Quirk repeated, his translator struggling with the concept. Yeah, it's super popular with the adrenaline junkies. But don't worry, we've got plenty of other attractions. The earthquake simulator, the flood zone water park, the volcanic ash spa. That last one is really relaxing, actually. The minerals are great for your skin. Quirk's diplomatic training had covered many scenarios, but none had involved spa treatments derived from natural disasters. I see. And you are the leader of your species? Luna laughed, a sound that somehow managed to be both musical and slightly unsettling. Leader? Oh no, we kind of decided that traditional government was part of what got us into trouble in the first place. Now we run things more like a really big cooperative. I handle the visitor relations because I used to run a food truck and I'm good with people. A food truck, Quirk said slowly. Best fusion tacos in the tri-state area, Luna said proudly. Anyway, we've got a whole council now. Jake handles the adventure tourism, Maria runs the reconstruction entertainment division, and Bob coordinates the extreme weather experiences. It's really a team effort. And your previous governmental structure? Oh, that got blown up in the war. Along with most of our cities, our infrastructure, and about 60% of our population. But hey, that just meant more room for innovation, right? Quirk felt his worldview beginning to bend in ways that defied several laws of physics. You lost 60% of your population and your response was to innovate? Well, sitting around crying about it wasn't going to bring them back, Luna said pragmatically. But turning their sacrifice into something awesome? That felt like a proper memorial. Plus, the tourism revenue has been fantastic. We're actually turning a profit for the first time in decades. Tourism revenue, Quirk repeated. Oh yeah, we're planning to go galactic with it. Imagine the possibilities. Disaster tourism across the galaxy. Species that want to experience controlled extinction events, safe apocalypse scenarios, that kind of thing. We're thinking of franchising the whole operation. Quirk's translator finally gave up and started making small whimpering sounds. The Grand Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Quirk delivered his report. Even the atmospheric processors seemed to quiet down, as if the very air was holding its breath. Let me understand this correctly, Dr. Florbington said, his voice the sound of a filing system having a nervous breakdown. The humans have not only survived their apocalypse, they've turned it into a business model. That's not even the most disturbing part, Quirk replied, consulting his notes. They've been reverse engineering our quarantine technology. The silence that followed was the kind usually reserved for funeral parlors and tax offices. Reverse engineering? Counselor Grex leaned forward in his hover chair. For what purpose? Entertainment infrastructure, Quirk said, his voice flat with disbelief. They've taken our atmospheric containment systems and turned them into weather control devices for their theme parks. Our gravitational manipulation technology has become their zero-G adventure zones. And our quantum communication arrays, they're using them for what they call extreme, long-distance karaoke. Captain Zorix made a sound like a deflating balloon. This is a nightmare. We gave them the tools to quarantine themselves, and they used them to throw a party. It gets worse, Quirk continued. They've terraformed 17 asteroids in their local system using modified quarantine protocols. Each one is themed around a different type of disaster. There's Volcano World, Ice Age Adventure, and something called Zombie Apocalypse Fun Zone that I'm told doesn't actually involve zombies but is still somehow terrifying. Luna Martinez had accompanied Quirk back to the Council station, ostensibly as Earth's first official interstellar diplomat. In reality, she was treating the whole thing like a business development opportunity. The way we see it, Luna explained to the assembled council, humanity has always been really good at taking bad situations and making them worse. But this time we figured out how to make them worse in a fun way. And then we figured out how to make money from it. But the psychological trauma, Dr. Florbington protested. The species-wide PTSD. The grief, the loss, the existential despair. Oh, we've got all that, Luna said cheerfully. We just process it differently now. Instead of sitting around being depressed, we built a whole therapy industry around it. Apocalypse survivors make the best counselors, turns out. We've got support groups that double as extreme sports clubs. It's very cathartic. Jake Thompson, who'd somehow managed to hitchhike to the council station, nodded enthusiastically. Nothing works through grief like a good old-fashioned cliff dive into an active volcano. Supervised, of course. Safety first. Safety first, Quirk repeated, his translator finally giving up entirely and just making random beeping sounds. Absolutely, Jake continued. We learned that the hard way. Turns out, surviving an apocalypse teaches you a lot about risk management. Who knew? Counselor Grex studied the humans with the kind of fascination usually reserved for watching a traffic accident in slow motion. And your long-term plans? Luna and Jake exchanged glances. Well, Luna said, we were hoping to discuss a partnership opportunity with the Council. See, we've got this whole galaxy full of species that have never experienced a proper apocalypse. They don't know what they're missing. You want to franchise the apocalypse, Counselor Grex said slowly. Controlled apocalypse, Jake corrected. safe, supervised, with proper medical facilities and insurance coverage. Think of it as extreme team-building exercises on a planetary scale. The Council sat in stunned silence as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just survived their quarantine, they'd turned it into a business plan for galactic domination through entertainment. 6 months later, Captain Zorix stood in the same observation post where this whole mess had started. But now, instead of monitoring a dead planet, he was watching the grand opening of Apocalypse World, the ultimate disaster experience on the former side of the Sahara Desert. The transformation was complete. The Galactic Council had been officially restructured as the Galactic Tourism and Entertainment Regulatory Board, with Luna Martinez serving as Deputy Director of Interspecies Fund Management. The humans had somehow managed to turn their greatest weakness into their greatest strength, and in the process they'd revolutionized the entire concept of galactic civilization. Captain Zorix came a familiar voice. Jake Thompson bounded up the corridor, now wearing a uniform that identified him as Senior Director of Alien Integration and Extreme Experience Design. Jake, Zorix sighed. "What can I do for you today?" "Great news. We're ready to launch the overly cautious alien bureaucrat experience. Guests get to spend a full day in your old job monitoring potentially dangerous situations and filling out safety reports. It's surprisingly popular with the thrill seekers." Zorix stared at him. "You want to turn my former career into a theme park attraction?" "Not just an attraction," Jake grinned. "A full, immersive experience, complete with realistic paperwork, authentic bureaucratic delays, and a climactic moment where you have to make a decision that affects an entire species." The beta testers loved it. One of them said it was the most terrifying thing they'd ever experienced. "More terrifying than your volcano diving?" "Way more terrifying. Turns out, actual responsibility is way scarier than lava." Zorix found himself laughing despite everything. "And what about the other council members?" "Oh, they're all involved now. Dr. Florbington is running the Xenopsychology Gone Wrong haunted house attraction. Turns out, being completely wrong about human psychology makes for excellent horror entertainment. And Ambassador Quirk opened a restaurant chain called First Contact Gone Wrong. They serve foods that are technically edible but diplomatically catastrophic." Through the observation window, Zorix could see Commander Vex leading a group of young aliens through what appeared to be a military training exercise that involved building pillow forts and making s'mores over a campfire. "Vex seems to be adapting well," Zorix observed. "She's our new Director of Tactical Recreational Activities. Turns out, military precision is exactly what you need to run a really good summer camp." Who knew? The transformation was complete. Humanity had taken a galaxy that was ruled by caution, bureaucracy, and careful risk management, and turned it into a cosmic adventure park where the greatest danger was having too much fun. "You know," Zorix said, watching a group of aliens attempt to roast marshmallows while wearing full environmental suits, "I think this might actually be an improvement." "That's the spirit," Jake said. "Speaking of which, Luna wanted me to ask if you'd be interested in running the Galactic Council simulation experience. It's like a democracy, but with more snacks and less paperwork." "Less paperwork?" Zorix perked up. "Tell me more." As Jake launched into his explanation of humanity's latest innovation in galactic governance, Zorix reflected on the strange turn his life had taken. 6 months ago, he'd been a bored bureaucrat monitoring a dead planet. Now he was part of an interstellar entertainment empire that had somehow managed to turn the end of the world into the beginning of something wonderful. Humanity, it turned out, was the galaxy's greatest natural resource. Not because they were particularly smart or strong or wise, but because they had the unique ability to take any situation, no matter how terrible, and ask the question, but could we make this fun? The answer apparently was always yes. And the galaxy would never be the same.